Welcome along here to another video with me, Jennifer Kirk, and we're going to be reviewing some of the new models which I've been purchasing recently. Now, there's been a big fire sale going on with a lot of Hornby stuff, and I've kind of resisted for a little while, but I relented, and there's a few things that kept being there in my shopping basket online. I thought, well, they're not going to go away. Other things have come and gone, but these three things have been consistent, so I relented and bought them. And now the first one here it's the Hornby Mk rolling stock. Now, I've bought a few of their Mk items before, and I've actually been quite pleased with them for the money. But with these being £16, that's akin to what the Bachmann ones were pretty much when they first came out and before all of these massive price rises. So I was very interested to see how this compared to some of the Bachmann ones. This is catalogue number... We've got R4698, and I've chosen the BR Mk Parcel Brake Coach. And this is in the early period BR Crimson and Cream. Now, this is a particular livery, which actually, I think it's about the only livery that I don't have any of the Bachmann ones in. So I've gone and dug out this for the comparison. So we're going to be looking close at this one compared to this at some point during this video. And this is the Bachmann offering of the Mk 1 BG, but in the Western region, cream and brown. So first of all, first things first, let's get into this. And it's a standard size box. In fact, it's exactly the same size box as the Bachmann items use. But we're going to get this open now. And we've got the insert that Bachmann did away with, but unlike Bachmann, instead of being flimsy paper, this is more like a thin card. So it's a little bit easier to deal with. So let's just pull all that out. I'm going to put the box to one side. And we can see the now familiar plastic surround, and we've got a little bag of extra bits, and these are they look like, they're the knuckle couplings to add on either end. These are purely cosmetic, but they're there if you want to add them. I suspect that they probably get in the way of the tension lock couplings, which is why they're not added as standard. Pretty easy to get this out of here. And we've got this clear plastic on the roof, which I actually prefer to some of the weird foam that Bachmann have been using of late. So we're going to lift that out, and we're going to put all of this to one side out of our way. And what we can see here is it's a pretty good substantial model, and I'm looking over it. Some of the first things which I've noticed is that actually Hornby have been pretty clever in the way that this is assembled, and I suspect that they've taken a good look at the Bachmann model and thought, how can we make it cheaper to put together, but at the same time not detract from its appearance? And some of the things, like the way that the bogies are attached, they look to actually be clipped in rather than screwed in, and that actually doesn't seem too bad. It doesn't feature the close coupling mechanism, and that actually cuts down on the number of individual parts, which in turn reduces the assembly costs. And actually, I don't think that it particularly causes a problem in my mind. The couplings themselves go into NEM pockets, so there's still the facility there to swap out these couplings with something like KDs should you so choose. The underframe detail, now this is something which I've had a look at the Bachmann model, and what I can see is that some of the underframe detail is a little bit finer than the Bachmann model. But the Bachmann model is about 15, probably around 15 years older than the Hornby model, so you'd expect some degree of refinement. And as Hornby was coming in to a pre-existing market where there was already a good model available, they had to really up their game, and I think that's one of the areas that they've done that. Again, the bogie sides are much finer on the Hornby model, And the wheels themselves feature a little bit more detail in terms of they've got holes in the faces like the real ones would have, that the Bachmanns don't. We've got the steps modelled from quite a springy plastic. They're separately applied detail, whereas on the Bachmann ones, they're part of some of the underframe moulding detail. The brake blocks don't line up with the wheels, but then they didn't on the Bachmann model. And in all honesty, I don't think that detracts from this model. And if it keeps the costs down, I'm all for that. We've also got a little bit less separately applied detail on the ends. On the Bachmann model, you can see that these wire handrails are separately applied. But on the Hornby model, they're moulded in, and I don't think it detracts from the model. And I have to say that if that cuts the cost without detracting from the appearance, I'm all for that. And again, the handrail on the roof is moulded on the Hornby model, but separately applied on the Bachmann. Something else that I've noticed is we see these roof vents. On the Bachmann model, these are separately applied. But the problem with that is that you get this very noticeable mark around them where you can see the break between the roof moulding and these separate mouldings. Whereas on the Hornby model, they're all as a one-piece moulding. And actually, I think they're much improved on the Hornby model. And it just goes to show that just because something's been done in a cheaper and more simple way doesn't necessarily make it worse. Now, on the detail front from the livery application, if I place these side by side there, then what we can see is, now let me just double check with this. I'll try it the other way up and see, do the windows line up? Yeah, that's better. The windows line up. We've got pretty much the same length for each of them. I think when I measured them, there's a fraction of a millimetre different between them, but in all honesty, you're not really going to notice that. In terms of the livery application, of course, we haven't got a like-for-like comparison. This is the closest I could find in my collection. What I can see is where the tempo printing has done the lining. On the Bachmann model, it's much neater where it goes over some of the body detail. And on the Hornby one, there's just a little bit of a bleed over on these raised areas, but not enough to make it really stand out. I've also noticed a little bit of fuzziness in places just along the top rail, but again, not enough to radically detract from the model. In terms of surface detail, it looks a lot finer on the Hornby model. All of these little handles, they're nicely picked out in black, but they're moulded on. And I think that really that's something that should be made more use of. That if you can mould the detail instead of separately applying it, and it doesn't detract from the model, that's the way you really should go. The bogie detail, as I said before, looks finer, and the underframe detail looks finer. Hornby basically came into this market having to compete with what was already a really good model, and they've really risen to the challenge. And at £16 a model that these can still be found for, I have to say it is a superb addition to the coaching fleet. Now, I'm not able to compare Hornby to Bachmann crimson and cream application because I simply don't have any of the Bachmann models in this livery, but I've been told online that there isn't quite a colour match, so you may find it difficult to mix these coaches with different manufacturers of the same livery. That said, in service, a lot of these coaches varied in their colour presentation due to natural fading and variation in the actual pigments and the paints that were used at different workshops, and just general weathering and heading through the coach wash. So actually a variation in colour is probably no bad thing. Overall, I would give the Hornby coach a very solid 8.5 out of 10, and I would say that given the choice between the Bachmann and the Hornby coaches, the price really edges it for me, and I'd probably go for the Hornby coach if they were available. They also have some variants that they've done with internal lighting fitted as standard. You obviously pay a little bit more for that, but those examples can still be had for a favourable price compared with what the standard Bachmann releases come at. So really, on this one, I think Hornby have edged it. Now, I hope you found this video informative. Don't forget to like it and share it too. And this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying we'll be back here with more videos on this channel. Don't forget to look back through all the things that we've done before. And did I ever mention that I've got 10 books out there that quite a few of them are available through Amazon? No? Oh, well, in that case, I've got 10 books out there that are available through Amazon. So don't forget to check them out.